You
One
know,
thing I find interesting about teaching someone something is sometimes you say the thing that really helps them, but they either don't get it or they can't do it. And I know what it's like to be on the, I guess, the teaching side, but also the student side, whether it's with tennis or something else. And sometimes when you're on the student side, it's like I feel like I am doing it, but I just can't get it. And the coach is telling you to keep doing the same thing, but you feel like you're doing it, but the coach thinks you're not doing it. So it becomes a point of frustration. But I try to be aware of that when I'm coaching and really just find out what it is that's blocking them to be able to do it, whether it's like they need to realize that they're not quite getting it, or they don't need to worry about the net when we're just trying to hit it nice and smoothly, and just trying to take away the other blockages in their head to really just focus on that one thing and what is it that gets them to do it, and just to trust the process. Because once they get one or two things, especially that first one, and they can see that it makes a difference, you create a domino effect of trust and also problem solving rather than just stating what a good tennis shot looks like. You're more solving a problem for each individual player.
hmm
That's what I like to do, especially for the beginners. It's really important to get them to be confident and, like you said, not stressed when they first turn up on the court.
yeah, yeah, that's really good. That's really good. And I would even split that out a little bit um, because if what the coach is saying is nonsense, and then the player doesn't is doing what they think that is the coach is saying, but the coach is saying something that's nonsense, then that's a problem. But if the coach is saying something that, so that's one example. Another example is the coach knows what they mean when they say a certain thing, but the player doesn't know what that means. And so then they do the best thing that they can do.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is when the coach has such a refined ability to tailor their language to the way the person learns, then you get greater understanding. So it's not necessarily about knowledge always, it's about understanding. So um so I'll give you an example. I was working with a young girl and she was not particularly athletic, and she just wanted to learn how to play tennis because her aunt played and they wanted to play tennis together, right? And that was her goal, to play tennis with her aunt. Perfect. So, I was explaining strokes to her, and then she said, "Oh, it's like spreading frosting on cupcakes." Like, what? What are you talking about, right? So she says it's like spreading, frosting on cupcakes, and I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, yeah, actually, it is just really big cupcakes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the weirdest example, but it's really more about discovering how does the person learn. Um, it's interesting because in the last year, two very, very important people to me, in terms of how to coach, have recently passed, right? Um, One of them is Nick Bollettieri, who just about everybody knows. And I was been reflecting on that lately about how important he has been to tennis. And the most common thing that I'm hearing people say is that Nick would come personally to each player and have this personal moment of encouraging them and saying, "You can do this," and that assurance, that confidence is really important. Um, and then the other one is Don Henson, who's lesser known, but Don is probably the one that's the most influential with me in terms of being interested in brain science, um, because Don went way out of his way to understand the student and the way they think, and how can he form his words and the understandings of what to do based on what's most palatable for them. Um, And then something that I've been learning to do is help people make a shift in their in how they think and how they experience their tennis from like what are they predisposed to do, because a lot of people who come to play tennis are college educated, they're analytical, they know how to create systems and processes and whatnot, but those types of strategies aren't necessarily going to help. So what they have to do is they actually have to learn to use like a lower level of brain in order to be able to do the things. And we're gonna, we don't have time to really explain all that now. It would take quite a while, but people are going to see that in action in how